need them. We need them. We need them. We need those strategies for a living, don't we?
You're right. You know, I always tell you I love your energy. You got me in here dancing this afternoon.
Well, so that means you're ready for your daily dose of radio rehab.
I don't know how ready I am.
But
I am here with the bells on.
Okay. That's why I wondered why you were ringing when you came in.
That's right.
Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan. He is Jimmy Bryant, Ph.D. That means he produces, he hosts, and he directs. And she is PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
So I have a question for both of you.
All right.
Yeah. You ready for me to sing?
I did not think that was coming.
Go for it.
There we go. Yeah, I like that positivity.
Did you see how he stumbled when,
You caught me off guard there.
at the prospects of my singing?
Well, I was kind of speechless, so I was kind of glad that he took in the stumbling.
Well, maybe I just
You take my breath away.
Maybe I just ought to ask you guys to use your imagination. You remember Roger Miller?
Yeah.
Back in the day, he had a song called Dang Me.
Dang me.
Dang me, dang me, or take a rope and hang me. High from the highest tree. Woman, would you weep for me? And I can't do, the rest of it. But that's a good runway for what we're doing this evening. Dr. Rita Louise, our life strategist, may not appreciate it as much as you two. But that's the name of her new book. Dang, it was me all along. How many times do we say that, huh? How many times?
I've said it a couple of times.
Yeah, I know. And so we're going to talk to Dr. Rita Louise about cultivating happiness through mindful awareness. And I love having Dr. Rita Louise back because I love having authors from the area.
Yes.
And Dr. Rita Louise is from just down the road in East Texas. She is a medical intuitive. She does intuitive counseling. She does energy healing, and she's a pretty dadgum good writer. So we're coming back to talk about Dang, it was me all along.
Let's do it.
All right. Folks, thank you for tuning into Strategies for Living. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and Hempress, Cannabis with Love, at the Shreveport Little Theater. Oh,
You got it.
no.
You found it.
Dang me. Dang me. Or to take a rope and hang me. You do it, Roger.
One more time.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning RX Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning RX Shreveport.
And welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Jimmy Bryant, Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Let's welcome into the program now Dr. Rita Louise, the founder of the Institute of Applied Energetics, former host of Just Energy Radio. She's the author of 6 books, including The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and Narcissist. She's written hundreds of articles that have been published all over the world. Dr. Rita has appeared on film, radio, TV, has spoken at conferences around the world covering topics such as health and healing, relationships, ghosts, intuition, ancient mysteries, and the paranormal. We welcome Dr. Rita Louise back to Strategies. Rita, welcome.
I am so glad to be here. It's always so much fun hanging out with you.
Well, I tell you now you're just down the road in East Texas. Tell us about because you've got a lot going. You're in the Jefferson area, is that right?
I'm in the Jefferson area.
Yeah.
Correct.
You're redoing an old house.
Oh, I told you about that, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm intrigued. Yeah.
Well, I'm a very project-generated person, and I finished the book, and I'm like, need
What
a
am I
new
gonna do
project.
next? Yeah.
So I bought this old, kind of dilapidated, not dilapidated, it just needs work.
It just, it needs tender, loving care, and that's what you're doing. You're giving it to it, right?
Well, and I find that doing that kind of work is very relaxing to me and stress reducing. How much fun is it to mud and tape drywall?
You can kind of, Jimmy knows.
Jimmy can relate.
Jimmy can relate. Jimmy knows a little bit about
You and my wife Maudie would get along because she can get there doing sheetrock. I love hearing this. I'm in the middle of a remodel myself, so
Yeah. So, Rita, dang, it was me all along. How did the book come about?
So the last time I was on, I had released that book, The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and Narcissist.
Right.
And I thought I had solved all of my relationship issues and I knew everything on the planet, only to find out not so much.
Yeah.
And when that relationship failed, I had to really take a step back and go, okay, you've worked on all of this stuff, so what's left?
Yeah.
And I had to look in the mirror and go, it's me.
Me. Yeah. When I look at all the relationships I've had and I look in the mirror, I see me. I'm the common denominator, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So this is a good book. Again, folks, it's called Dang, It Was Me All Along. And you can find Dr. Rita Louise at soulhealer.com. You can order the book through her website. You can go to Amazon or wherever you buy books. I'm going to tell you, it's a good book.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, you start out where a lot of us don't think, but we need to do more thinking about our inner world, right? And the makeup of our mind. Well, we know we've got this conscious mind. And we know the conscious mind produces our thought processes, our thoughts, and all of that. But then, we got this mysterious subconscious mind. Yeah. Begin to clear some of this up for us.
Okay. So within ourselves, there's actually 3 different layers. There's the conscious mind, which is the things we're aware of. We're thinking about going to the grocery store and buying something, or
Right.
the CAD, or something at work. But that's right there in our brain.
Right up front and
Right
central.
up and center.
Yeah.
But that's only a very narrow band of our mind, and so there's the subconscious mind, which includes the ego and a lot of our core programming.
Right.
And the subconscious mind records everything that happens to us. And whether we realize it or not, we allow those unconscious programs, these little, I like calling them computer viruses if they're on the negative side,
Right.
to run and control our lives.
Right.
And then there's also, which is highly debated, the superconscious mind, where we can connect. And I ended up writing a whole chapter on this topic because when you talk about the superconscious mind, there's this fine line between religion and spirituality and that whole concept.
Right. Well, I do know, and I do acknowledge that it's highly debated. It's just not highly debated here on Strategies for Living.
Correct.
We're totally in. So,
and it was fascinating because as I'm doing this research, and I knew that I needed to make that connection to higher levels of consciousness, higher vibrations of being, and you look in the literature, and there's nothing.
Right.
There's nothing.
very, very little. Right. There really isn't. Most of what you're going to find out there is going to be stuff that sometimes people would be suspect of. Because, when you talk about looking in the literature, you're talking about the academic literature. There's zero.
There's zero.
There's zero. you can find some things online, but then people don't know, okay, is this a trusted source? Is it, do I trust this? Do I not trust it? Yeah.
So part of my commentary is that, people go to counseling and therapy and do all of this stuff looking for happiness. And you would think the therapists were the people that would give you the insights of what you need to do to cultivate happiness, but they don't. Apparently, because there's nothing.
Well, you can't give what you don't know about, and that's the problem in a lot of education, both medical and graduate education, to prepare counselors and social workers, and so there are counselors like the one sitting to my left here that deal with it, but that's not something that gets trained. You have to do that over and above. A graduate
and
education.
The other thing I would add there is, the counselor can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. So if they haven't found and cultivated happiness within them, they certainly aren't capable of helping you to find happiness and cultivate it within you, right?
Very true.
Very good point. Now, when you talk about the conscious mind, you introduce what you call an unsettling fact in the conscious mind area. A National Science Foundation research study offers a startling fact about our thoughts. 80% of our thinking is
negative.
That's surprising. I guess I'd probably read that statistic before, but it surprises me every time I see it in print and read it.
I don't like hearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are so many people that walk around in fear or have ongoing anxiety or worry or they're ruminating all the time. And those are all negative forms of thinking. They don't think happy thoughts.
Right. Now, the good news is we can do something about our thoughts, but we were touching on the subconscious. Really, to do the deal, to really get the deal done, we do have to know a little bit about the subconscious, because a lot of what is driving that kind of thinking are from the ego, which you said earlier. Yeah, that's in the subconscious mind, right?
But one of the other pieces that I think is critical is that many of us live on autopilot. And something happens, we respond, and we just assume this is who I am and this is who I'm destined to be. And when situations happen, there's not anything I can do to change it, to have a different response, to rewrite the program, rewrite the script so that we can respond to it in a different, more healthy way.
Then there's our emotions. And, a lot of us spend a lot of energy trying to regulate our emotions. A lot of us know the fight, flight, fight, flight, freeze. You've got a fourth F. Yeah.
That would be the fawn response.
Yeah.
And the fawn response is interesting. So it's not identified as being an innate stress response like fight, flight, and freeze.
Right.
But is something that is believed to that we learn very early on.
What is the fawn response? How would you describe it?
It's where we kind of bow down or people please to other people to escape consequence.
Well, that's something that we really routinely in school. We kind of learn how to do that in kindergarten, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah, go along to get along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tape's rolling. We can just start back up when y'all are ready.
Okay. Well, we'll start back up when Rita's ready. So the last thing I said, Rita, which you'll respond to, is we kind of learned that in kindergarten. Go along to get along.
Exactly. And many believe that that trait is put into us even before we learn how to walk. So it's so ingrained and pre-verbal.
I'm not even sure that some of it doesn't start in utero. I'm not even sure that some of it, not words, because our brain isn't able to interpret words, but we can interpret feelings in there.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm even thinking in terms of, health of the mother, if the baby has to sacrifice some of its health in order to compensate for the mother.
Yeah. Lots of messages that get given to us. And some of us can live an entire lifetime, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, and never really know that we're operating off of somebody else's messages.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, this is good stuff. Dr. Rita Louise, dang, it was me all along. Cultivate happiness through mindful awareness. So here's the good news that we're going to get to. The good news is there's something we can do about all of this.
I like that.
Yeah. One of my answers is sometimes you just got to stop and go to the movies.
There's nothing wrong with a good movie.
Well, you know where you can see a good movie? Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. Now, we have been waiting, haven't we? We've been waiting for the Abby Singer's Bistro's reopening.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week, Tuesday, tomorrow, and Wednesday, the 20th and 21st, Abby Singer's Bistro will be closed to the public because we're reopening the newly renovated dining room Thursday, February the 22nd.
It doesn't feel like it took them that long.
It really didn't, but I think this is going to always great stuff, including, have you seen the 2024 Oscar-nominated short films? Well, if you haven't, you can treat yourself right now at the Robinson Film Center. See, this is the kind of thing you're not going to find anyplace else.
No, and I mean, with these short films in particular, it's hard for Robinson to compile them all together and give and offer you that in a traditional theater setting is really awesome, because that's really just not how we ingest short films.
Absolutely. So look, join the crowd, join the fun. We need to become members. And how do you do that? Well, you go to robinsonfilmcenter.org, get discounts on movies, get concession upgrades, get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport, robinsonfilmcenter.org. And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM. 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Jimmy Bryant, Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan with our life strategist, Rita Louise, the author of Dang, It Was Me All Along. You can find Dr. Rita Louise at soulhealer.com. And if you want to get a copy of the book, just go under shop and hit books. And there you'll see it. You'll see that and all of her other books, including the dysfunctional dance of the empath and narcissist, and all of the other books from Rita Louise. I hope you're going to keep writing.
Mm-hmm.
I go through phases.
Yeah.
So, I'm working on the project house now, but I'm sure I'll cycle back to
There you go. There you go. Or do you like when you dive into writing? How long when you decided to write this? It doesn't seem like it's been that long, Rita. How long did it take you to, once you get focused? How long does it take you to write a book?
This book took me the longest because I was just really working on my own healing and was just kind of being very mindful about using my time and using my energy and just working through that process, because even though this book isn't a memoir, people really kind of go on this journey of understanding and reprogramming with me.
Right. So it's really about, and you call it the self-awareness game. It's really about tuning in. And we use the term, I'm a little worried about the term mindfulness because it's being used so much now. I'm afraid it's becoming psychobabble. So let's talk about what mindfulness is. What is that?
But mindfulness is so simple. It's just really about paying attention.
Yeah. Tuning in.
About tuning in, about putting your awareness on something.
Yeah.
And I love that you're saying it's so simple, because I think one of the reasons that it might be overused to the point and getting to the point of psychobabble is because it's being there's some complex definitions being put upon mindfulness. So I'm glad that you're saying it's just very simple.
But the key to mindfulness is about just focusing your attention on something. So whether you're focusing your attention by counting sheep or counting your breath, or I go to the gym and I do the rowing machine and I focus on my breathing as I'm rowing away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you do as long as you pay attention and focus on that thing.
Right.
Yeah. And the breathing is so easy because if we're alive, we're doing it and we got it, right? Always with us.
Well, and everybody has experienced some level of mindful breathing. You get called into your boss's office, and as you stand just outside the door, there's that pregnant pause where you stop and maybe close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in, and you can feel your body relax.
Yeah.
And but mindful breathing can be just that simple.
Yeah. And you get into the book also giving some other, you give us the 4-7-8 breath exercise. I love color breathing. Color breathing? What is that?
So color breathing is you're just breathing, but as you're inhaling, you imagine that you're breathing in a color. You're breathing in a rose color because it makes you feel strong, but with a loving overtone to it, and then you can exhale a different color. It could be that you exhale the love and just kind of circulate that feeling through your body, or you can exhale like a gray color or a brown color, having it represent the toxic waste you're expelling from your body.
Yeah, yeah. And so your recommendation is to just try it. Just play with it, huh?
It's just play with it. There are a lot of people that have this belief that working with the things that I've suggested in this book, or changing yourself, I'm going to make it a bigger thing. Changing yourself is hard. And what I found was that is the easiest thing I've ever done. The easiest thing. And I liken it to dieting. Dieting in the big picture is not hard. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
It's about making a decision, one small decision at a time, right?
And then practicing it.
Yeah. And coming back to it over and over and over. And even if you fall off, okay, well.
Having self-compassion to say, okay, I'm just going to choose again.
Yeah.
Get back on it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I practice my breathing, I practice some other tools, but it might be for half a minute. It might be while I'm sitting at a red light and I'll decide to take a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
But one of the key things is that when you practice it, if something stressful happens and you have anxiety happen or whatever, you have that tool to fall back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've in my personal life, I have found it very important to practice when you don't need it, right? Because then you have that's an immediate fallback, and you're practiced in it, and it's your little trampoline to catch you.
Versus pulling it out of the junk drawer in the kitchen, and having this expectation that it's going to work.
Right, big time.
Now, in terms of, you talk about identifying our stuff in the book, and a lot of people, probably most all of us, we like to think of ourselves as positive, optimistic people. But then we go back to what we were talking about in the last segment, that National Science Foundation study, 80% of us are trapped in a negative cycle of thinking. So how do we tune in? How do we begin to identify our stuff, if you will, especially the emotional stuff and all of that?
Well, and it's really about just starting to pay attention to what's going on inside. You know, what kind of thoughts am I having? What kind of emotions am I having in this moment? Obviously, when when something happens, it's easier to use that as a springboard to go, okay, I just had an emotional reaction. I have bad brain. I like that term, bad brain. I'm having bad brain. Well, why am I having bad brain?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of thoughts are going through my mind, and what can I do to shift those thoughts into something else?
Yeah. How important is it to name emotions? Because you talk about in the book the noticing and naming emotions. How important is it to name our emotions, the energy and motion within us?
So most of us, well, I'll say most of us, you know, we have a handful of emotions that we operate on. We're happy, we're sad, we're pissed off, you know.
Right.
There's this limited list, but there's so many
Labels.
variations,
Yeah.
you know, and so you might say, oh, well, I'm angry. But the reality is you might just be frustrated.
Right.
Or you might be scared. And so it gives you an opportunity to kind of dig deeper into yourself about what's really going on to kind of clear a path to changing it.
So again, we also want to look at our behaviors, don't we? We also want to look not just at the emotional stuff, but we also want to look at what we're doing.
Exactly. So when we have a thought, we'll have an emotional reaction. And then depending on that, we might exhibit a behavior in response to that. But our behaviors are actually one of the easiest things for us to observe because we're doing something.
Right.
And so, and if we have bad behaviors or we have behaviors that make us uncomfortable, then it's the easiest one to go, this is something that I want to change. And this is something because it'll make me happier.
Right. Right. You've got a lot of ideas that you offer in the book. And again, folks, the book is called Dang, It Was Me All Along. But you've got a lot of ideas and exercises for changing the automatic thinking, which is the core of all of that negative stuff, right? That's what we got to tune into, and we got to work to change it. What's the 17-second rule?
I love the 17-second rule. The 17-second rule was one of the first tools I started working with, and I found it to be a life changer. And so it was put forward by Esther Hicks, who channels the being Abraham.
Right.
And so the 5-second rule, we all know the 5-second rule. A piece of food falls on the floor and you have 5 seconds to pick it up and use it.
Yeah.
So the 17-second rule is very similar. And she puts forward that if you have a negative thought, after 17 seconds, it starts gaining momentum. And then in another 17 seconds, it gains even more momentum. And then it can start branching off into parallel and subsidiary thoughts that can take you right down into your rabbit hole of negative thinking.
Okay.
And so she contends if you can catch it in the first 17 seconds before it starts getting this momentum, it's easier to change it. Now, I say catching it any time is better than not catching it at all.
Sure.
But the less momentum it has, the easier it is to shift the thought into something healthier or happier.
Yeah.
The other thing you talk about in the book, the book is packed full of, and we're just barely scratching the surface of it this evening, but you talk about what so many of us have, that inner critic inside of us. How do we begin to challenge our inner critic?
So I just have to share with the listeners, the inner critic is the part of us that tells us that we're no good, or we're too fat, or we're too slow, or we're too stupid. And it's mean, and it will say things to us that we would never, ever say to people in polite company.
Right.
And so, challenging the inner critic is by, again, shifting that thought. So you have negative thoughts about yourself, but perhaps take a moment to make a list of the things that you do have or you're good at. So if I was to make a list of positive traits I have,
Right.
it would be things like I'm smart, I am powerful, I'm a good worker, I'm persistent,
I can get things done.
I can get things done. And that's my list for me.
Yeah.
What I have found in doing that is that sometimes people will put things in there that don't necessarily reflect who they are in that moment. And then the inner critic will jump in and go, yeah, no, you're not. You suck.
I love it.
I don't know why, but I think of the two Muppets in the balcony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're always ready, right?
Like the peanut gallery, right?
But actually, if you can use that imagery and you can begin to laugh at that inner critic,
Right. You can separate out
You
from
will
it.
separate out and you will shrink that thing. The name of the book is Dang, It Was Me All Along. Rita Louise. Dr. Rita Louise is the author. You can find it wherever you buy books. I recommend you go to soulhealer.com and get the book through there so you can see all of the other things that Dr. Rita Louise is into and what she does.
And if you're on the road and you can't access it right now, be sure to check us out on Facebook or YouTube. We've got it shared there, and you'll be able to find your way.
There you go. It's been going on for over 101 years now, and it is American theater at its best.
Theater.
And
There we
they are at it again, Jimmy, because Dial M for Murder opens this week.
Oh, it's time. It's finally here.
February
That's
the
awesome.
23rd is the opening day. Now, Dial M for Murder runs through March the 3rd. So you want to get your tickets, ShreveportLittleTheater.com, or as Jimmy says, Shreveport Little Theater, because of the way they spell it. But this is a classic mystery. It's a thriller. It's a murder mystery, kind of a cat and mouse waiting game. Got a lot of twists and turns. Jimmy's going to be on the edge of his seat, and the rest of the audience is too. It's about Tony, who's a retired world tennis champion who marries Margot for her money, and now he plans to murder her for the same reason. He thinks he's got the perfect murder arranged, and he thinks he's got a brilliant alibi for himself, and we'll just leave it right there because you're going to love Dial M for Murder. Now, when you're getting your tickets to Dial M for Murder, go ahead and get your tickets to Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville.
It's going to sell out.
Oh, man, both of these are going to sell out. So go right now, ShreveportLittleTheater.com. Get your tickets. Of course, Shreveport Little Theater is American theater at its best. Life magazine agrees with that. They've named Shreveport Little Theater one of the top 3 community theaters in the entire nation. It is American theater at its best, right at 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. PLPC, Lauren Leon McMillan, and Jimmy Bryant, David McMillan, here on Strategies for Living with our life strategist, Dr. Rita Louise. Dang, it was me all along. And that's her new book. It's about cultivating happiness through mindful awareness. And Rita, you have outdone yourself. This is packed full.
Yeah. Thank you.
It is absolutely packed full. So, Jimmy, we need about a 5-hour show. Can you give us an
5-hour
additional
block? Let's do
can you
it.
give us an additional 5 hours this evening?
What do you think?
Okay. I was ordering dinner. I mean, that's what I think. But hey, all right. You pack so much in here, so we want people to get the book. SoulHealer.com is Dr. Rita Louise's website. You can also get Dang, It Was Me All Along, where you buy books, including Amazon.com. The Superconscious Mind. I'm not gonna start singing again, but you got the name of another song here right at the front of the Superconscious Mind. One of my favorites, The Spirit in the Sky. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I won't start singing again.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. But so when we think of the superconscious mind, to me, it's not unsettling at all. To me, it's very comforting that this help is available to us all the time, right?
Well, and the superconscious mind, like the subconscious mind, and again, forget my terminology, except for the listeners of this show, because you're all very cool.
True. True.
Include terms like our higher self,
Yeah.
our soul,
Right.
our connection to God,
Right.
Or source or the divine or whatever word you want to put on it. But we've all experienced the superconscious mind, and we've all experienced that connection to source. When we're having those moments when we're in the flow or we're in the groove and time just seems to go by really fast.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're in that vibration, when you're in that state of mind, you're never negative. You're never worried.
Yeah.
You're never anxious because you're in the flow and you're connected.
Do a lot of us get messages, and do we receive messages and don't know we're getting a message?
We all receive messages, and many of us just choose not to listen.
Okay. All right. How will I know if I'm getting a message?
So the way that I like to describe it is that when your higher self, whatever word, is communicating to you, it will give you a word, maybe a very short phrase, and that's it. You can tell it from the ego that also tries to give you messages, because the ego will put insistence behind it, and it'll put anxiety behind it, and it'll be like, hurry up, get this job done.
Right.
And it's never a simple word. I like to say spirit nags, and it
Right.
will remind you,
Right.
but it won't pester you.
Right.
And if
It's gentle.
Persistent.
and you always have to ask,
Okay.
like
Yeah. Knock and the door shall open, seek and you will find type of thing.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, what should I be doing now? And they'll graciously give you the answer. Now, you might not like the answer they give you, but it'll give you the answer.
Yeah.
And then you can choose to listen or not.
Yeah. Yeah. But the whole place that we're headed to in using all of the things that we're talking about is shifting our emotions from the negative to the positive, right? And, how do you know? How will you feel the shift?
Well, what you might notice is that you're having better days. You find that you're not trapped in cycles of negative thinking. You might wake up one day and feel content. And then
Imagine that.
I know. And then the next day you might wake up and feel content. And then you might look back and go, wow, it's been a month and I haven't had any bad brain days. And I still feel content. And even though I got a flat tire, it didn't put me into a tizzy of weird emotional responses. I just dealt with it and moved on.
Yeah. What's the law of resonance? You talk about that in the book. What is the law of resonance?
So the law of resonance suggests that when there is a vibration, the things in the environment with it will match the vibration. And so in science, there's tuning forks. So you can have a C tuning fork and you tap it, and every other C tuning forks will start to vibrate.
If I have a C tuning fork in my hand and you tap yours, mine's going to start vibrating too.
And so with that idea, that can happen with other people. And so you can be around someone with really good energy and it can raise your vibration. Or you could be around people with bad mojo and it'll
lower your vibration. Yeah. So this can be great news if we understand it. But a lot of us, and again, that's why there's so much packed in and valuable about this book. But those few pages on the law of resonance, I mean, that is worth the price of admission. Not that the book is expensive at all, but to me, just to tune in, pardon the pun.
Well, and
just
about
to tune
paying
into
attention.
That. Yeah.
When I work with my clients, I tell them it's like, if you feel your energy going up around people, they're good people.
Yeah.
But if you feel it's sinking down and that's the consistent thing that happens, then maybe you need to stop and reevaluate what's going on.
Again, learn to listen to your inside, right? Yeah. What's the dreaded B word?
Boundaries.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's so important. Boundaries are so important in the life we live and the things we've been talking about today, aren't they?
They are. And, up until writing this book, I just thought that they were some weird, arbitrary rule that you threw out there on the table.
Yeah.
And what I learned was boundaries are all about asking the question, what about me?
Yeah.
How do I fit into this?
Yeah.
Are my needs being met? And it's not from a selfish place, but it's from a, what about me?
No, I want to treat me at least as well as I'm treating everybody else in my life, right?
Exactly.
And if I'm not, I probably do need to look at the dreaded B word and think about, okay, where do I need to establish some boundaries?
Well, but if we circle back to that fawn response, people that display the fawn response are taught to not ever say, what about me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
they're taught to give up themselves.
Right.
Exactly.
In order to let other people be, right?
And so we got work to do. So how do you start? Well, this is a pretty good book to start with. Dang, it was me all along. Cultivate Happiness Through Mindful Awareness, Dr. Rita Louise. And yeah, she's a neighbor. She's just down the road a piece in Jefferson, Texas. But you can find her at soulhealer.com. She's a pretty good medical intuitive, and she does intuitive counseling and energy healing. If you're interested in learning more about any of that, well, the place to do that is soulhealer.com. And on Soul Healer, in addition to her books, there's articles she's written, her newsletter. You can find out a whole bunch of stuff there on soulhealer.com. But get the book. Dang, it was me all along, Dr. Rita Louise. We will be back with more strategies for living in just a moment. And welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Jimmy Bryant and Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, our life strategist, Dr. Rita Louise. Dang, it was me all along. Packed full book, good book, Rita. You're going to have to come back.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, we've just we haven't even scratched the surface of this thing, and I can't talk Jimmy into 4 or 5 more hours tonight. So you're just going to have to come back and join us again.
Well, okay. And I would love to.
What do you want to leave us with? We've got about a minute and a half. What do you really want to leave us with, Dr. Rita?
I think the most important message I would like to share is if you feel that you're unhappy in your life, that change is possible. And in order to make that change, it is so not hard. You're left with the impression that you have to do these things, and it's really all about paying attention to what's going on inside. Maybe breathing, maybe cleaning your house. It doesn't really matter, but it's just
tuning in.
It's just about tuning in and having some strategies for living.
I like it.
There you go.
Can't wait for the next time that you're back with us. And in the meantime, folks, you can visit Dr. Rita Louise at soulhealer.com. So, Jimmy, Lauren, do y'all want me to sing again? Any
What the hell?
Any request? I couldn't have said it better myself. So I'll just say thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Lauren. Dr. Rita, thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, most of all, thank you, because you're the reason that we do Strategies for Living, and we appreciate you being here with us each and every evening. And we appreciate our sponsors making it possible, the Robinson Film Center, and to say you Cleaners, Pintail Roofing, Learning RX, Hempress, Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who is it that you'd call? And what is it that you'd say? And here's the question. Why are you waiting? Make the call. For Dr. Rita Louise, for Lauren Leon McMillan, for Jimmy Bryant, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.